Thank you so much for letting us interview you, Mr. Burrass. I guess we'll start with the first question. Tell me why you came to Ashland.
I didn't really come to Ashland. I was born here in this town.
What community or neighborhood did you first live in?
Well, this neighborhood, we called it during my early stages of my life, was called Berkeley Town, which is located on Berkeley Street, adjacent to Henry Street.
How many people lived in your house when you were a younger child?
In my early stage of childhood, there were 5 people in the house.
Did you have an extended family member that lived with you during that time?
During my early stages, we had an uncle that would come in and stay for a while, and then he moved on into upstate New York.
What was Ashland like when you were growing up?
Ashland was a very diverse community, loving community, a beautiful place to live.
Who were Ashland's most colorful characters when you were younger?
That's a hard question to answer because when you're a child, you just enjoy just being young and having fun, and everybody you come in contact with. It depends on the time and the situations. We basically mostly were surrounded within the church, and one of our greatest church leaders was one of the deacons in our church, and his name was Deacon Henderson, Deacon Linwood Henderson. He was always a colorful character with the young people. Okay.
What do you think makes Ashland so special?
Ashland is very special because we always had a great relationship with all the people in the community. Everybody knew everybody. We all lived together as one big happy family.
Did you ever live anywhere else besides Ashland your whole lifetime here?
No, I did not. No, I have not. This has primarily been my home.
What do you remember about your grandparents?
I really didn't know my grandparents per se because both of them, both sides died at an early age of my life, so I was very young. I knew of them, but I did not know them.
Did you know where they lived?
They lived, my father's parents lived within this community. My mother's parents lived in a section of what we call today Mechanicsville.
Did they ever, you said you didn't know them very well.
No.
Did you ever talk to them? Did they ever share any stories with you that you remember?
No, because I was like, when they died, I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old. So, I would be mostly playing that into trying to learn some kind of history or whatever. You may hear people talking about it, but other than that, you really don't know anything personally.
Okay. What was your first job?
My first job, I was a paper boy. I carried newspaper in the community.
That's interesting. So that was in Ashland?
Right in Ashland, yeah.
What were your wages at the time? What year was that?
We're looking back in the 50s, I'd say around 58, 59. We got paid, papers was 30 cents a piece. We made about 5% profit off each paper or something like that.
That's really cool. Who else worked in your family, and what did they do in Ashland?
My father works for the city of Ashland here for 35 years. He handled the sanitation part of the town. He did it. He was in charge of it. He controlled it. And then he had his own private sanitation route, trash route, where he picked up surrounding the town. At this particular time, the town was only 1 square mile. And now we're looking at, 6 or 7 square miles. Yeah.
I see. Were any of your family members participants in the CCC camp building of roads?
Yes, they were. My uncle worked at the CC camps. He learned a trade. He learned to be a carpenter. They taught him how to build.
How much schooling did you get?
I finished 12th grade, and I finished 4 years of college. I also went to business school for some semesters. Took a course in some business courses.
And you mentioned that you still go to...
Still in the seminary, yes. No, So we really, we used to do things, to throw popcorn, but, but just little things. But basically, that wasn't really a great excitement for us, because a lot of the movies we weren't really interested in anyway, but we would go for a change of pace. But we played softball and baseball, stuff like that,
This is kind of a personal question, but what was the greatest joy or the or sadness of your childhood?
It's kind of hard because I've always been a happy-go-lucky person. I don't really, it's hard to say. Tell him stop.
3, 2, 1. What was the greatest joy or sadness of your childhood?
One of the highlights of my early stage of life as childhood, I was thinking back and received my driver's license at 15. But I was always big for my age, and I looked older. And now they tell me at my age I look younger. But at that age, we used to go places and could get into things because I looked older. I won't answer the rest of that.
Who was your childhood role model?
I would say some of our teachers. We didn't key in on any one person because during our school days, all our teachers cared about us. They always were like our second parents, when we were in school.
How were you expected to behave in front of adults when you were younger?
We were well-mannered. Any adult in the community could spank you. And then you got another one when you got home. Mm-hmm. There was no question whether you did it or whether you didn't do it. The question was, why did you do it? Okay. And anybody in the community could correct you. Anybody that knew your parent could correct you. Any adult. Okay.
How were decisions made in your family?
Most of the time, my mother made the decision, but it was always clarified through my father. Mm-hmm. Okay.
What kind of health care was available? Did you go to a doctor?
Yes, we did. We went to doctors. It wasn't a lot of, if I can recall back, I don't know whether that we had a lot of insurance or not, but living in a small community, we did what we call horse trading, okay? My father, along with his trash business, he used to haul debris from people's homes and stuff, and a couple of the doctors here in town, we did work for them. In exchange, we didn't have to pay a doctor bill.
That's interesting. Where were children born? Did they have a midwife or a doctor to assist?
Midwife. I was born with a midwife.
Who made decisions about housekeeping, the budget?
My mother did all of that. My mother did that.
Did you treat your own children the same or differently than your parents treated you?
Basically, I think that my children were raised a little bit different from me, and one of the reasons for that is because of the way my wife was raised. I was a loving and would be considered a spoiled brat, okay, because I got a lot of things that way, because it wasn't but 3 boys, and we were all exactly 7 years apart. Okay, so we had time to spend with our parents before another one would come. But my children were basically under my wife's control. I supported her in raising the children, and she grew up in a family of 13 children, so it was a little more stricter. The rules were a little more stricter. Plus, I was raised in a house with boys, and I had 5 girls and 1 son. So it kind of made the difference in the raising. The girls would be more under my wife.
Did you have a garden or did you have any livestock?
Yes, I did, and I still do.
You have both?
Yes, I had both.
Do you like milk your own cows? Or?
Well, we didn't have cows per se. We had horses. As a child, we had a cow. And my mother and my father milked the cow. I didn't do any of that.
Tell me about your neighborhood a little bit. Like, who were your neighbors? Did your relatives live close by?
Well, one thing about in the Afro-American community, everybody is family. It's looked at as family. Your neighbors, we grew up where you didn't lock your doors. Your doors stayed open. They would hit a knock on the door, walk in, hey, how you doing? Everybody would trust everybody. Everybody knew everybody. In fact, when my wife and myself first got married, and she was walking down the street, and she was from another area, and the people asked her, "Who are you, and where you come from?" Because they saw her walking down the street, they didn't know her. People would have no problem asking you, "Who are you?"
Mm-hmm.
You know?
People were kind of nosy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes noses is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are the most important people in the neighborhood?
This community here was considered the upper middle class blacks in this community. Okay, on this side, on the north side of Ashland, on the south side were more of the lower income blacks. Most of the people that lived in this community either had businesses or they were school teachers. Okay, and they were pretty well educated, and they lived in this area out here, what we call Berkeley Town or Berkeley Street or off of Henry Street. Let's say different classes because of education more than anything else.
What do you know about the original Henry Clay Inn?
Very little, no more than I was a child when it first burned down, the first one. The owners of the inn, I didn't know them per se, but I knew one of the siblings, one of the lady's daughter, I knew her very well, Miss Jones. I knew her because they ran another business in town. And I had an opportunity to meet her and to know her. She was a very lovely person, a caring person. Okay.
Any other industries or businesses like the racetrack on Ashcake Road, the shirt factory, Duke's Market, Cross Brothers?
The racetrack I was looking at, I was trying to reminisce them back. But the shirt factory, yes, I knew about that. That was one of the source of incomes for this town besides the college. And what was your other question?
Cross Brothers?
Cross Brothers was a local supermarket. And I think they still do a little bit of it. You know, in those particular days, we didn't have a lot of money, so you sign your name, and when you sign your name, they will extend you credit to buy your groceries. And now there was another store that you don't have on there. You may have it, Duke's Market. Do you have it on there?
Yes.
Duke's Market was Jason across from the Cross Brothers, and before Duke's was there used to be a Safeway store there on that corner. Okay, and as children growing up, my father, he did pick up the trash from his various stores. That was his private work, and we would love to go to Safeway because they would throw the old bananas out and the old grapes out, and we had the opportunity to go there and get them. You know, and sometimes they would put good stuff out for us because we didn't know we were coming up there to clean up, and they'd throw package of cookies out, and we'd have cookies. You know, and that's the way we had fun. You know. All the kids, because my daddy, he did the trash business, not with a truck. He did it with 2 mules and a wagon.
Cool.
Okay, that's what he did.
What is the oldest house in the community?
As far as I know, the oldest house in this community would be Ms. Shelton's house, that house, Jason, from where you're studying at this particular time on Berkeley Street. I was told that the house came out of a Sears Roebuck catalog.
Do you know who has lived there?
As far as I know, from my childhood up until now, Mrs. Shelton lived there, and she's still living there, and she's 103 years old.
Do you know who built it?
No, I don't. But I'm pretty sure one of these days, if you young ladies get the opportunity to come back and walk right across the street, she's still living.
How would you compare the town of Ashland when you were growing up to today? How do you think it has changed?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the things that bothers me a lot is that a lot of new people are moving in with a lot of new ideas, and they're trying to make this, to me, an elite town, okay? But if they ever thought about the people who was here, who was born and raised here, act the way that they're acting, they wouldn't be here. But they left the door open for mild growth so the town could grow slowly and expand without causing problems or harm to anybody that wanted to come in. But I think now a lot of people moving in and they want to make this an elite town. The prices have gotten outrageous as far as buying homes and stuff. My first home, I paid $1,300 for it. fully furnished.
How did incorporation of other outlying areas affect Ashland?
Ashland was unique within itself. A lot of places often wanted to be like Ashland, but there's only one Ashland. There's only one Ashland. And a lot of people who move here just fall in love with this town.
Okay. How did you travel around in Ashland?
We walked.
What do you remember about the train service in Ashland when you were younger?
I never rode a train. Have never rode a train in my life. I see it coming through, traveling through, but I never had a great desire to get on the train. Isn't that strange? And it's 1 block or 2 blocks from my home, but it's just something that you accept. You see it, they had the train, go ahead, you know. A lot of the people here worked on the trains, worked on the tracks, or different jobs with the railroad, but none of us, I never was really attracted to the train.
So, never rode on a train. Did you ever ride on an airplane?
One time.
Where'd you go?
Jamaica.
Oh. Is that for a honeymoon? Or?
No, I went down with my brother. We went for a little vacation. I didn't like it.
Oh, really?
No,
How come you didn't like it?
because I felt that America exploded the country.
Oh.
And I'm coming into your country. You got guards at the gates at the places of resorts. They cannot come in. We could go out, but they couldn't come in. Mm-hmm. We were living good, and they had soup lines on the street.
Oh.
That hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our dollars were worth 5 to that 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what you got. What you're doing? You're taking advantage of people, and we wonder why these countries are still poor, because we misuse those people, and that's not right. You know, it hurts. It hurts. We went out. We rented a car and went out, and we went out into the community. My brother, he's a retired policeman, and we just rode all around to the community. I didn't like it. I really didn't enjoy much. I don't enjoy having fun off somebody else's pain. You know, somebody else's suffering.
I see. Back to the transportation. Did any of your relatives work for the railroad?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Do you remember the trolley service in Ashland?
Excuse me. I heard about it, but I don't really remember anything about that.
What was governing the body of the town when you were younger?
The town had its own governing body, which they still do today. But during this, years ago, they used to have their own courtroom, too. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they have, I guess, different cases. Nothing heavy was done here in the town. It had its own governing body. They did their own thing.
Okay. Were your family members involved in politics?
My father was, but nobody knew it. He used to spend some time traveling some of the areas that Martin Luther King was in. He was during that time. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but he would go to hear him speak and stuff. He went to some of the trial with Thurgood Marshall and them during the time for the schools and stuff like that. My father would go. See, where he worked, it was like he was in charge of the sanitation, so he hired and fired his own men, and he set his own hours. Mm-hmm. So he would go in early so he could get off early so he could travel to go different places.
And you never knew this? You never knew?
I knew it, but most people didn't. My father was a very quiet and a unique person in his own way. Very little education, but had a lot of what we call today mother with. You ever heard that word before? No. You would call it wisdom. Okay. He had a lot of wisdom. And he listened well because he couldn't read, so he listened well. Okay. And he could always repeat what you said word for word.
Oh, wow.
That's what his teaching. And you would never talk to him, you would never know he had no education. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't outcount him either, as far as math. He learned his own system.
Did you attend carnivals? If
Yes.
So, where were they held?
They were held up by Henry Clay School. You know where the Little League play ball? Out in the western part of the town, the southwestern part of the town, about Henry Clay School.
I'm not familiar with it.
You know where St. Anne's Catholic Church is? Well, the Catholic Church wasn't where it is now. That was like parking and athletic fields. Then eventually they built a hall for having receptions and stuff. But the Catholic Church itself was around the corner down by the college. That was where the old Catholic Church was. Then they moved up there.
Okay. As far as historical events, do you have any stories about the Civil War, Spanish-American War, World War One, influenza epidemic, the Great Depression, any of those?
No, I was a kid during the Depression. Where I'm presently renting property, it was adjacent to one of the plantations which is still existing here today. Wickham Plantation, which his sister was married to Robert E. Lee. And I keep my horses there now adjacent to that plantation. It still exists.
What about World War II? Do you remember any stories about that?
I was born when the war was coming to an end in World War II, 1944. Okay.
Okay. Civil rights movement. Do you remember any particular controversy in Ashland when you were younger?
We had one. We had one that I knew of as a child growing up. The Ku Klux Klan came in to town. In that particular time, we didn't have 95. Number one was the main thoroughfare. And they met at the corner down there where the red light is today. And they wanted to march through town. And most of the white people came out and told all the black people, stay back. We would handle this. They told them we didn't have no problem here. We don't want any problems here. And don't come here.
So the white people of the town made them leave?
Yes.
Who are the most important people in your community in regards to the civil rights movement?
I would say during that particular time, our mayor was very liberal. His name was Brother Dick Gillis. A lot of the people, well, I'm going to say this. It's kind of difficult because if you think Thomas Jefferson only one that had black kids, you're sadly mistaken. Since there's a lot of intertwine, a lot of mixture here in this town. So you can't hurt one without hurting the other. Okay? It's not talked about. You don't hear a lot about it. But some of my close friends were some of Mr. Wickham's grandchildren. But you only heard about Thomas Jefferson. Okay?
What were some differences you encountered, like schools and public places?
Really, we didn't, like I said, when we grew up, we knew our boundaries, okay? And basically, didn't have any serious problems. You know, we would go in and buy what we wanted, and we sit down, and they would wait on us. And we had one or two people who had some problems, but like I said, the community took care of that. You know, if you know, we were one unique community. It was strange the way that the closeness that we had. Because, see, if you look back during the periods of time, most every white family that had money had black maids or black cooks. And they were almost like part of the family. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, you know, it was very close. You know, if something happened to Sister so-and-so or Sister Mary who was taking care of the children or who was cooking, it affected the family too. Indirectly, we became family. You know, and this is the way that this town have always operated because this is how close-knit it is. Along with the relatives, you know. And that's why we are the way we are.
Was there an NAACP in your community?
Yes. Very active. Still is active.
Did you belong to it? Do you know
Yes, I did. I only knew one event that they had to intervene. This was back in 1965 or 66 when they had a racial problem at the high school. And that came about because it wasn't handled well. And they took a lot of the black kids to the courthouse on school buses. They never went to trial. It was cut off at the bottom.
So you're saying the NAACP
Intervene.
and made sure that the black children were treated fairly?
Well, it wasn't such thing when they were treated fairly. Like I said, the intertwine. Families.
So it wasn't just the NAACP?
No, they was the front runner, but they spoke out. You know, they let it be known, but they really didn't have to do a lot. They showed up on the scene,
Mm-hmm.
but everything was taken care of. That's the only time I ever knew they really came in on some situations.
Okay, well, this concludes our interview.